Imagine being hunted by a phantom for over 40 years, a monster who committed at least 13 murders, 50 rapes, and over 120 burglaries, and then vanished without a trace. The Golden State Killer was the boogeyman that California couldn't catch, until a website designed to help people find their ancestors became the key to unmasking one of America's most prolific serial killers. Before we dive into this incredible story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a case like this. Now, let's get started. For decades, he had many names: the East Area Rapist, the Original Night Stalker, the Visalia Ransacker. But in 2013, true crime author Michelle McNamara gave him a name that would stick: the Golden State Killer. Between 1974 and 1986, this predator terrorized California, leaving behind a trail of devastation and absolutely no clues to his identity. Victims described a masked man who broke into homes in the dead of night. He was meticulous, prepared, and terrifying. He whispered threats, stacked dishes on victims' backs to hear if they moved, and seemed to know the layout of homes before breaking in. Then, in 1986, he disappeared. The case went cold. Detectives retired. Victims grew old, still waiting for justice. And the Golden State Killer became nothing more than a ghost story until April 2018. The Golden State Killer's crime spree began in the mid-1970s in Sacramento and surrounding areas. At first, he was a burglar and rapist, attacking single women or couples in their homes. His MO was chilling. He'd prowl neighborhoods for weeks, peering into windows, learning routines, sometimes even calling victims before attacking. He wore a mask, spoke in a whisper, and brought pre-cut ligatures to tie up his victims. When couples were home, he'd place dishes on the husband's back while he assaulted the wife, threatening to kill them both if he heard the dishes rattle. As years passed, the attacks escalated. In 1979, he committed his first known murder, shooting Brian and Katie Maggiore as they walked their dog. Then came more, couples bludgeoned to death in their own beds. The violence grew, but the Golden State Killer remained invisible. Despite thousands of tips, composite sketches, and one of the largest manhunts in California history, police had nothing. No fingerprints matched anyone in the system. DNA evidence existed, but there was no one to compare it to. The case seemed unsolvable. By the 2000s, the Golden State Killer case was collecting dust in evidence rooms across California. Detectives had moved on, survivors had aged, some victims had passed away, never knowing who had destroyed their lives. But in 2013, author Michelle McNamara became obsessed with the case. Her book, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, reignited public interest and gave investigators new hope. McNamara tragically died in 2016 before seeing the case solved, but her work kept the Golden State Killer in the public consciousness. Meanwhile, advances in DNA technology were changing the game. Genetic genealogy, using DNA to build family trees, was helping adoptees find biological parents. People were uploading their DNA to public databases like GEDmatch to discover relatives they'd never known. And that's when investigators had a revolutionary idea. What if we could use the same technology to find a killer? In 2018, investigator Paul Holes partnered with genealogist Barbara Ray Venter. They uploaded the Golden State Killer's DNA profile, collected from crime scenes decades earlier, to GEDmatch, a public genealogy database. Within hours, they had hits. Not a direct match, but distant relatives, third and fourth cousins. Using these genetic breadcrumbs, Ray Venter began building a massive family tree, working backward through generations. It was painstaking work. She traced lineages, verified birth records, and eliminated branches of the family tree. Slowly, the pool of suspects narrowed. The killer had to be a man, the right age, living in California during the crime spree. After weeks of analysis, one name rose to the top: Joseph James DeAngelo. DeAngelo was 72 years old, living quietly in a suburb of Sacramento. And here's the kicker: he was a former police officer. He'd worked for the Exeter Police Department and later the Auburn Police Department during the exact time the Golden State Killer was active. Investigators began surveillance immediately. They needed a fresh DNA sample to confirm their suspicion. In April 2018, they got their chance. DeAngelo discarded items in public, a tissue from his car, items from his trash. Crime lab analysts compared the DNA. It was a match. On April 24, 2018, SWAT teams surrounded DeAngelo's home. They found a frail old man living an ordinary suburban life. When arrested, he seemed confused, muttering, "I have a roast in the oven." This was the monster who'd haunted California for decades, a former cop who knew how police investigations worked, who'd used his training to evade capture. He'd been hiding in plain sight, living less than 20 miles from some of his crime scenes. In June 2020, Joseph DeAngelo pled guilty to 13 counts of murder and admitted to dozens of rapes and burglaries. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, one life sentence for each murder victim. During the sentencing hearing, survivors faced their attacker. Elderly victims who'd been terrorized as young women finally looked their nightmare in the eye. DeAngelo sat emotionless, never apologizing, never showing remorse. The Golden State Killer case changed criminal justice forever. It proved that genealogy could solve the unsolvable. Since DeAngelo's arrest, this technique has helped solve hundreds of cold cases across America. But the most important victory: survivors finally got justice after 40 years of waiting. If this story gripped you like it gripped me, smash that like button. It helps more people discover these incredible cases. Drop a comment telling me which cold case you want covered next. And subscribe with notifications on so you catch every upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.